3 says, conducts the investigation with regard for procedural fairness, timeliness, privacy, and any person's health and safety. Are you aware that bullying poses a serious risk to health and safety?
Yes.
Are you aware of any steps that were taken to protect Darren Thomas from possible bullying which would put his health and safety at risk? Say again, please?
Before or after the complaint was received? Sorry, I'm unclear.
Before or after?
Before or after?
At any point during the time
Look, I'm
you
not
were...
clear as to how the question relates to the issue which I have to decide, which is whether or not the university's exemptions claimed under Section 30 and Section 35 of the Act are appropriately claimed.
Did the university appropriately follow its policies? McAleer versus University of Western Australia, paragraph 60 to 65, where illegitimate actions are taken or you breach a law. Illegitimate means breaching one of your policies. Then you've not carried out a process that is appropriate. And what I'm getting at here is the university's policies were not appropriate.
All right, well, you can ask the witness that question.
Are you aware, during the time you were complaint manager, are you aware of any steps that were taken to protect Darren Thomas from bullying or to make sure that Darren Thomas's health and safety were not at risk?
I'm not aware of any steps that were taken.
Did you take any steps?
It's practice for me to include in my emails and in my correspondence to respondents and complainants that there are counselling and other support services available through the university.
Don't tell me what's practice. Did you take any steps?
I believe I did.
What were those specific steps?
To provide both you and the respondents with knowledge of the counselling services that are available to you through the university.
I refer you to section 12.7 of the graduate research, of the appropriate workplace behavior policy. Where it says the Associate Director of Employee Relations develops a plan to resolve the conflict in collaboration with. Where is your plan? Is your plan documented somewhere?
No.
So you developed a plan but it was never documented?
I spoke to the human resources manager. I don't believe I said I developed a plan.
You spoke to someone and that was the extent of your plan?
Sorry, what's the question?
Was the extent of your plan speaking to someone? Was that the full extent of your plan, speaking to someone?
Yes.
You never documented anything about your plan?
No.
Does the university's section 49 submission make reference to any of that correspondence you had with whoever you had it with?
Is there a part of the document I need to look at? Sorry, I'm not sure where I'm going.
Well,
Have you read that document, Mr. Caswell?
The
The
section...
Section 49?
No, I have not. It's the first I've seen.
Thank you.
the university, so on the back, there is an appendix which outlines the documents. It takes several pages.
Well, it's a matter of fact as to whether there's anything in that
Yes.
document which relates to the issues that I need to decide, but this witness clearly doesn't know anything about it, so perhaps you could...
No, it's not that he clearly doesn't know anything about it. There is a document which is submitted to, and that document claims we have captured all the correspondence relevant to the request. Mr. Caswell here has made documents, if you will, relevant to the request. He has just said he made those documents. He spoke to someone regarding this.
He said he had a plan. I didn't hear him say that he generated any documents.
He spoke to someone. The Freedom of Information Act captures those conversations,
Yes, have you got any other questions?
and it is not there. Now, back to 12.6. What you say? So 12.6.3 conducts the investigation with regard to procedural fairness, timeliness, privacy, and any person's health and safety. Would you say that you allowed some persons to respond in writing, but not Darren Thomas to respond in writing?
You've already raised this issue, Mr.
Would you say that that's a breach of procedural fairness?
You've already raised that issue as well, Mr. Thomas.
No,
Is
I'm
there
now
something
asking him
else that
if
you
he
wish?
thinks it's a breach of procedural fairness.
Mr. Thomas, this witness is not a lawyer. He probably doesn't even know what procedural fairness is.
He has expertise,
I am not
10 years
going-
experience
I
in
am not
supervisory
going to allow
investigations.
question. Have you got any other questions for
He ought to know what
witnesses?
procedural fairness is. He's supervising a process which involves procedural fairness. How could he not know?
Have you got any other questions?
How could he not know? How could he not know this when he's supervising a process which involves it?
You've got 2 minutes, Mr. Thomas, to complete your cross-examination.
Now, D, at the conclusion of the investigation, the complaint manager determines how the matter progresses. How do you determine how the matter progresses if you claim that you've never looked at the evidence, never looked at the investigation report?
Sorry, I didn't say I didn't look at the investigation report.
So you look at the investigation report,
Yes, I sent it to you.
and what do you look at in the investigation report?
I read the report.
You read the report,
Yes.
and you take everything in the report to be true and correct.
I don't redo the investigator's work.
So I ask you if you take everything in to be true and correct.
Yes.
Have you seen some inconsistencies in the investigation report based on our discussions today?
Yes.
So, is it now your view that everything in the investigation report was not true and correct?
There was an error in the investigation report.
An error? An error? So you only saw one error? Is that what you're saying?
There was an error, yes.
Today we discussed only one error?
You asked me about a number of errors. I don't. There's an inconsistency and there's an error.
There's an inconsistency and an error. Are you suggesting only one?
I've already said I can't comment on your work.
No, I didn't say anything about my work.
I can't tell you.
I asked you, have we only identified one error in that investigation report today? Or in the process of the investigation report? So let me put it this way. Did we here today realize that, one, you investigated a complaint you said you would not investigate? Two, saw inconsistencies between Stephen Brown's and Garrett White's statements, even though it was said that those statements were consistent in all material respects.
Can the question be broken down?
Alright, so I think that what's happening is Mr. Thomas is going through the major difficulties which he has with this report. The first thing that he points to is as I understand it, the error is the date of the meeting, is that right?
Yes.
The second thing is the inconsistency between the description of empirical and theoretical. And the third issue is the question of whether the victimisation issue was investigated when it was said that it wasn't going to be investigated. So do you accept those three issues as being issues that detract from the report?
So the third of those points, it would appear that the report contemplates the additional allegation. The second point, again, without knowing Mr. Thomas's work, I couldn't comment on whether or not there were empirical.
What is the second point?
Empirical and theoretical.
And the first point was?
The date, the 2nd February meeting.
And that's an error, yes?
Yes.
So is there an error or errors, plural?